everybody, I'm Nora Burrows of Mostly Quilts, and today we are going to do some crumb quilting. I have my blue bin with all my little crumbs in it. I'm very excited. It has been far too long since I've had a chance to put some crumb blocks together, so we're going to do that. This is episode 4. If you haven't seen 1 through 3, go ahead and get caught up, check those out, but you actually don't even need to. You can just jump right on in here. This is the kind of series where you can kind of come in at any point and I'll be putting little crumbs of fabric together. So let's go ahead and get started. Here are a few of the blocks that we've put together in the past, and we've even connected some of our blocks together with strips. These are the pieces that we have also put together, smaller pieces that have not been put together into squared off blocks, and these are what we're going to be working with today. One thing that I have decided I want to do is to cut this polka dot piece off of here, or seam rip this piece off of here. This piece here doesn't go with this to me. I'm actually okay with the one next to it, but the polka dot just doesn't make sense. This block was one I made when I was doing everything random. Sometimes I put the pieces together more thoughtfully, and then sometimes I just kind of take random pieces out of the bin and put them together. And this one I should have just not done. This here is one of my favorite pieces. I think this is going to be really cool. Very modern. So what I'm going to do now is take pieces from my crumb bin here and match them up with pieces that I've already made. So for example, I might take this from the crumb bin and attach it up here, that kind of thing. I'm going to try and have one new piece for each of these sections, chain piece those through the machine to attach them on, and then I'd like to start putting some of these sections together in different ways. First of all, I took this piece off of here. Let's start with just a couple of these pieces here. Or let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's try and pair these 6 up. I took a bunch of these scraps from the bin and just threw them on the table here. But what I did see is this polka dot piece could look really cool along this one. So let's do that. We'll put that aside. I also have this piece that was kind of pieced together from another project, and that could look nice along here or along here. Maybe I'll do that. That one can go next to the machine. We have 4 left here. Let's add this one to the mix. This is kind of a cool snake looking one. That could be really neat with this. Let's do that. The key is to get a good size. You'd rather have the piece you're attaching be too big rather than too small. I'm going to put these ones together here, and when I cut it, I can cut it kind of like that. Bring some more into the mix here. I'd love to put these eagles somehow with this. Maybe right there. Let's take a minute to cut some of these. We will pair more up before we chain piece them all together, but I do want to get some of these trimmed. Let's start with this one here. I have a side that's very straight. You can see it's a tiny bit wobbly there, so I'm just going to trim it off. And for this one, I'm actually going to use my ruler that's a little longer. I'm not lining it up with any lines that are on my cutting mat. I'm just getting a straight line here. I'll put that aside. Then let's see how big of this piece we need, because I'll trim off what we don't need here. Right about here should be good. I'll make it a little bit longer than I think that I need. Now I'm going to make sure, actually this side here is a pretty straight line. You can line your fabric up against the lines on your mat to make sure it's straight, and that's very straight, so I'm actually not going to trim that, but I'll turn it over. And I have my tray here. Here, let's give you a better view of the tray. So here's my tray, and what I'm going to do is when I have a piece that's all cut and ready to be sewn, I'm going to leave those sides together, and sometimes what I'll do is put a little wonder clip on the side that's going to be sewn. I'm not lining up these perfectly yet. When I get to the sewing machine, I'll take the clip off and I'll line them up to make sure that they're nice and straight and perfect. But for now, this clip just tells me which side of the fabrics I'm going to be sewing on so that I'm not confused. This one's pretty obvious, but sometimes you can forget. Let's do this one next. This piece is already pretty straight. I'm going to try and get as much of the wide side on as possible. I'll just trim this piece off back here, making sure to make it a little longer than I think I need. Put my clip on and throw it onto the tray. This one is an interesting one here. Let's see, what was I gonna do with this? I think I was gonna do like that. So I'm gonna just trim this kind of like that. And this one's straight, this needs to be trimmed. Let's do that. So let's see. I think, was that what I was gonna do? No. This is what I should do. That's not what I had originally thought, but let's cut this side because this side over here is not perfectly straight. And we will connect this to this. So right sides together. And we're just gonna sew 1/4 inch along here. So when we open it up, that piece will be attached. That's the plan. So Wonder clip goes on and onto the tray. Next, we have this one. I love this one. This is so much better than the polka dot. I'm really happy with this. So this is the kind of thing that you can just turn over on top of each other and trim them at the exact same time. One trim, a clip, and tray. All right, last piece that I think we've paired so far is this one. And I think I was gonna do like that. So let's trim this one. Let's trim this piece first. This piece is already very straight, but I do need to cut it. I need to trim it down. And so let's see here. I need to trim it about right here. So now I'll have this piece for another pairing. And these will go right side. Oh, it's supposed to be right sides together like this. This needs to be trimmed, this side. And these will go together. Flip it over. Back to pairing. We have out here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that we're trying to pair. I'm looking around here, and that could be good. It's a little small. I kind of wanted to get a nice big piece along here because these are two separate pieces, and that would kind of secure that nicely. So I think I'm going to put these two together, and this blue one was just a piece that we cut off of that larger blue piece a minute ago. What else? We have this orange piece that's a nice size. We could put that here. I think I like that. Okay, how about this one? And so I think I want to attach a strip on this side, and then once I have the strip over here, I'll trim these and attach a strip to the other side. So let's find a good size strip for this piece. What about this one? I think that could be good. I think we could do better. That's not quite right. Ooh, this is the one. Yeah, that's it. So I'm even gonna just trim that off right now. And put this piece aside. Let's add a couple more here. About this one and this smaller one. I want to get something a little bit lighter for this because these two pieces together are very dark. This one's too small. So that one's not going to work. How about that? That's cool. We'll do that. I think I need a bigger piece for this. I need kind of a bigger crumb. This is why it's good to have different sized crumbs, not everything like the teeniest, tiniest, you know? How about this piece along here, like this? That'll be good. This one could go there. I don't hate that. I think the colors go nicely together. This one needs something really bright and fun. And we're getting kind of long here. Could use this piece again, right along the bottom like that. Again, I'll just trim off the edge here. Right sides together. All right, let's trim those and send just the ones we've already trimmed and the new ones we're gonna trim through the machine and see what we have. We also still have these pieces over here that don't have pairs yet, but I don't wanna get too far ahead. Hopefully these pieces are getting big enough that we can start pairing the pieces together. You know, for example, like pairing this piece with this piece and this piece with this piece, and then eventually we'll be able to trim it off. But we're not quite there yet. I think in this video we will be able to make a block. That is my hope. But the point of this cutting, and I'm not going to cut each one of these with you because I think you get the idea, but the point I'm going to make is that there's really two ways to cut. One is to put the two pieces on top of one another. Cutting method number one is you put them on top of each other and you trim. Then this is ready to be sewn through the machine. I would flip it and sew it with a smaller piece on top. The second way, and I just kind of randomly took these two pieces, I'm going to put them together, is when you have two pieces that are kind of curved and wonky, if you try and just flip them right sides together, you're going to have to kind of back your ruler pretty far back and lose a lot. So what you'd want to do is to cut each one separately, to trim each one separately. So you're only losing a little bit on this side, then you'll cut this part, lose a little bit on this side, and when you pair them together, I'm going to cut this one a little bit more. There we go. Then they line up. I'm going to cut the rest of these pieces off camera and then we will go to the sewing machine. I have my tray of cut and paired pieces here, and I'm going to chain piece those right through my machine, which makes this process very fast. Chain piecing just means you send them through without stopping, without cutting them off your machine. I will show you what I mean with a couple of these. I take my first one, take the binder clip off, make sure that everything is lined up perfectly. I usually put the smaller piece on top or the piece with more seams on top. Then I leave this piece on my machine and I take my next two paired up pieces here, make sure they're all lined up. This one is no good because look, there's an indentation here. I was going to line this up with that one, but that's not going to work. I have to put that aside and come back to that. Let's do the next one. So the next one here, make sure they're lined up, and I'm going to lift my I'm actually going to put my needle down, lift my presser foot, and lower the presser foot once my piece is kind of stuck underneath there, and sew. Let's do one more together. I'm not quite at the end. I'm a couple stitches away from the end of this piece. I'm going to put my needle down, take my next piece, and this one, the green is going pretty far over the edge, and I just want to make it easier to work with, so I'm just going to trim that right off. Put it under the machine, lift the presser foot. So as you can see, you're creating this chain back here of all these pieces that are stuck together, and then we'll cut those apart at the end. But I'm going to keep going and put all of the ones that we've paired and cut and sew them chain piecing together. So now I just finished my last piece. I'm going to cut this off of my machine. Look how many we did. Just keeps going and going and going and going. There's the last one. So now we're going to cut these apart. have my stack of sewn together pieces here. I'm gonna take these over to the ironing mat. This is the most fun part of all, in my opinion, because you get to iron them open and you really get to see what they look like. It's kind of like magic. You never really know how they're gonna look until you iron them open and you see them together. So let's go do that. I just ironed two with the camera off, but they're looking pretty good. That one and this one I particularly love. So I iron them, I set the seam, which just means you iron it with the seam closed. I iron it with the piece that has the least amount of seams on top. And then I fold that open and give it a nice iron. This one, the smaller piece is on top. So sometimes it makes sense just to open it like this, but I still flip it over, have the one with the least amount of seams on top, and flip it. I think it's just kind of a cleaner seam that way. Kind of is the way that the fabric more naturally wants to go. And here, I can just trim this piece right off here. That's a fun one. Very picnicky. So this is the one that I know that my next step with this is to put another strip on this side. Look at that teeny tiny triangle of those colorful raindrops in the middle. Love that so much. This is a pretty big one, and I think this is one that might be ready to attach to another existing one that's been pieced together. Let's see. I don't know if I have another one. I'd love to attach something to the side, but I don't know if I have one that's big enough to go sideways. I might need to make something bigger. Like if I attached, let's see. If I attached these two pieces somehow, and then was able to cut down the side and attach these, that is starting to get large enough to square off if I'm also able to kind of attach something over here. So let's see, let's keep going. But this one I'm gonna kind of put aside because that one is large enough now that I can do something with that. I like this piece so much more with the snakeskin instead of the polka dot. Last one. Okay, so let's take a look and see if we can pair any of these existing ones together. Again, I'm gonna put this one aside. We're not gonna pair anything with that. We're just gonna let it be, but we're gonna see if we can make some of these ones bigger by attaching them to each other. So like that. I think I'll attach these two together. And these are kind of similar size. About like that. I think that could work well. Let's try that. What else do we have here? I could do something like this, and that would attach those together. I think the eagle's eventually going to get lost, but that's okay. Yeah, let's attach these. And then I need to find, I'm not going to attach this to an existing one. I'm going to get a new strip, maybe like, not that. How about that? We'll attach that together. What else? Can we attach these somehow? No, not yet. How about that? I think we could do that. Now, these are the three that we have left. let's add a piece onto each one of these. Here are the 3 pieces I have left over. And what I'm thinking is, I wonder if I can, instead of just taking scraps from the bin, if I can take some pieces from over here and match them with these 3. So let's see, like I have this one here that maybe I could just put right like that. I think that could work. This brown piece here might get totally lost. That just ended up being such a teeny tiny piece at that point, but that's okay. I'm gonna pair that up with that. Now we have 2 here. Let me bring some of the other ones over. Let's see. This one I bet could go with something. This was also just trimmed off of one of the main blocks I was putting together. Let's try this, these 2 pieces together. Could we get these together? I think we could. I think that would work. How about this big one here? I don't think this is ready to go with anything, but I kind of wish it was. I'm kind of ready to, I don't know what's going on with this one here. What can we do with this? Let's add this green strip on. I wonder if I could put these ones together somehow. Let's see, if I put those 2 together, then my next piece could kind of come here or down here. I think that could work. I don't know if they really, if that's what I want to do. Here, we have another piece over here. Let's try. I'm going to do that. There, that would work. That could work. Now I only have, oh, I forgot about these ones. I have 2 of these. I have these 2. I could attach this one to the top like that. I'm not sure I love that. I have this one. Let's add a piece onto both of these and maybe onto these as well. Let's see, what do we have for these ones? We'll do that. And for this piece, I would love the black and white, but that's too small. There. I need one for this. I like that. This is the last one. I'm gonna put that one right on there. Okay, so now I have every single one of my existing pairs paired with something else. Now I'm gonna trim all of these up, put them through the sewing machine. Here's our pile of pieces that are now sewn together. We are going to iron these open and take a peek at the magic. So let's start with the top one here. This used to be one of my favorites. We'll see if I've ruined it. Pairing it with this other section here. I still like it. I think it's pretty cool. This one here has a lot of seams, so the next pieces that I attach are gonna need to be something that don't have seams, you know, like something like this. Attaching pieces that don't have seams to pieces that do have seams, just kind of adds stability to the full piece. Because if you start having, you know, a gazillion seams coming together, your pieces can start to get a little wonky and not lay as flat as you might like. And this one, it's so funny, take a look. So this used to be the Eiffel Tower. It's just like the teeny tiniest piece now. And then you have the little doggy sticking out from the seam. He's still there. Open, let's iron these and see what we have. So this Eiffel Tower is the same fabric as that teeny tiny little piece in the other one. This is getting to be a good size. Let's look at it with this one over here. So like these ones in theory really could come together. Scooch it over a bit. And then, you know, maybe put a piece up here, but you could square off that block just like that. So maybe I'll do that. I think I'm gonna put these ones together. This could be the beginning of a block. Let's iron some more. I love to iron. See these pieces coming together. Here's another fairly large one. Let's see, could put that one with this one instead. These might go a little bit better together. But no, I think I'm gonna keep these ones together. I'm gonna do this like I had initially thought. But this is another big piece. I'm gonna put this piece kind of aside because if I get another big piece, I could put those together. I love this. This might be my new favorite. This is fantastic. Let's see it with this one. You know, you could put those two together like that. Wouldn't it be amazing if we made 2 blocks on this episode? Oh, that would be fantastic. I love that. All right, we're doing that. Back to the small pieces, teeny tiny ones. The little dots. It's like theme and variation, polka dots and dots. And it has just a really thin strip right down the middle there. What I don't love about this one, I will say, is that I should have had more of a contrast of this piece, like a bright yellow or something where this middle strip really popped, because it kind of just blends with this. You don't see it like I would like, but that's okay. We're gonna leave it. And this is cool. Last one. Now, before we sew those 2 larger sets together, let's see if there's anything else we can pair up. Like, I bet we can pair this with something, maybe even, might not be quite long enough. Let's see. What about that? Let's do that. Can we put these ones together by chance? I wonder. I think we can. We'll put those together. These all, I think you could find a way to put together, but I think I'm gonna pause with that for now and focus on some of those bigger pairs. that have more potential of becoming blocks in this episode. But these are all looking great. I'm really happy with these. Now that we have some kind of larger pieces we're putting together that are pretty wonky, I thought it'd be helpful to do the cutting together. Now it's going to be the exact same idea as it was before. You're going to kind of visually see, you can even fold over where you think you want the lines to go. But you're going to figure out where you want the lines to go, and then you're going to cut your straight lines. So instead of putting these right sides together and trimming, like is option one way of cutting, I'm going to instead cut these separately. But the goal is always to have two straight lines that you can then match up. And then I'll cut this one. So now I have the two straight lines that I can put together. You can see, ideally, I'd have another piece here that everything would go from top to bottom and line up. But because this piece is so large, I'm not worried about the fact that there's this gap here. I'm just gonna try and line it up on the bottom. You could even line it up a little bit so that when you make your next cut, you're kind of going on a diagonal here. That actually, maybe I'll line it up like that. Would that work? No, that won't work. All right, I'm gonna line it up like this, and this will go through the machine. So here's two that we were gonna pair. This is probably more self-explanatory. Again, I'm gonna cut these separately this time. It just seems to be, when you get this large, it's easier to work with. And then this will match up with here, so I need to cut this line. And those will go together like that. Right sides together. And I will sew through my sewing machine 1/4 inch. This is kind of pretty crazy. Now, I don't want to lose this piece here. If I put my ruler straight like this, I'm gonna lose a whole bunch. So instead, I'm gonna go way on the diagonal and lose a good amount of this piece, but this is gonna be so large, I can pair that with another piece later. So then this will go right along here somewhere. I'm gonna lose a lot of my eagle, which I'm not totally crazy about, but I think I'm just gonna live with it. No going back now. Let's see how that ends up. I kind of wish, what do I wish? I think that's okay. I'm gonna put those together just like that. Okay, let's open these up and see what we've got. So the next cut would kind of come down here. Okay. I think this one needs to get a little bit bigger before we can work with it. Okay, so this is getting to be a pretty big piece. I think if we kind of put something over here, we may be able to start, this may be able to be cut into a block. It's not quite big enough. All right, this is my favorite. This is amazing. I don't even know how this happened, you know, like, so good. Okay, that could work. Attaching these two together. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then you just cut it right here. Let's see about these. Can I make these go together? Yeah, I can. This is where I want them to be attached. I'm just going to remove this piece for a minute and cut right along here. Now I can use this. I'll probably have to cut off this piece on the end, but this will be another crumb piece that's already pieced together. Crumb, the beginning of a crumb block. All right, so I have this straight line. Let's open this up and see where this straight line is gonna be. Right here. And then they'll attach like this. Here's the second one. Open this up. So this one is going to be interesting. So we're going to cut it along here. Again, you can use this in another part. Let's see, you can kind of put them right up against each other. These will go like this. Flip it. Time to iron these open, and then hopefully we can square these off. And we will have at least one, if not two blocks. Okay, let's take a look at this for a minute. I think this one is ready because actually it could use a piece down here. So if you're gonna kind of, yeah, it needs a big triangle piece down here. That's okay, we'll find one. We'll find a triangle for there. We're close though, super close. This one I think is ready. Let's try and square this one off, and then we'll try and find a triangle for the other piece. And I think let's just start with one side. I don't even think it matters which side we start with. I'm gonna get my bigger ruler. So here's our first straight edge. Now that we have one straight edge, we need to line that straight edge up against one of these yellow lines on the mat. Let's go to the other side. And again, I'm gonna line my ruler up with a line on the cutting mat. Okay, so now we're gonna spin this around and we're gonna line the top up against one of the yellow horizontal lines. And here's my block. Let's look at the other block that we're working on for a minute, which is this one here. And what I'm thinking is that I have these two strips. I think I'm gonna put one right across here and one along the bottom somehow. So I will sew this one first. I'm gonna trim this into a straight line, straight line, sew right sides together and open up. Okay, and then I will do the same here. I'll trim this into a straight line. Make sure I have a straight line on my strip. I'll sew those right sides together and open it up so it'll look like that. I'm gonna do that off camera. I did that. Let's trim up this block. I think I wanna trim this side first. Let's see how far over. You know, I can even trim it on the diagonal. I'm gonna do that. Because remember, you don't have to follow, for your very first cut, you don't need to follow along your mat lines. You just need to make sure that one side is perfectly straight. So now I'll line my line up against the vertical yellow line. See how far over I can get here. And this is a nice big piece that we can use on another part of our crumb quilt. Now I'm going to line the top up with a horizontal line. And let's see how far over this way we can get. Again, another nice piece. We'll save that. And there's our block. This is looking great. So I think what I'm going to do, let's see the other one. Here it is. I wonder, so if I put a strip at the bottom here, I would be able to connect these two. I think I want to do that. Let's find a good strip. Should I just use another one of these, even though it's the same fabric? I'd like one with a different fabric, but I don't know if I have any that are long enough. And I could piece a couple together, but I'm feeling kind of done with this right now. I kind of just want to, I don't know if that's going to be wide enough. What about this one? I don't think it's wide enough. Is this one wide enough? No, because I need to take into account that seam allowance. That's the problem. What about this pink? I don't hate that. Let's do the pink. Now that the pink strip is attached, I can sew these. I'm gonna really match up the top, here, and then the pink will come a little bit over the edge, which is fine. I'll trim that off at the end. Look at this great big block we made today. I love this so much. I love the little fish in here and the hearts peeking out. There's so much of this I really like. You know, and it's funny how kind of this piece that was very picnic-like is really right up against some of the more darker pieces, like the American flag and some of these Civil War recreation fabrics, but it goes. When you start to put enough pieces together, it all goes. And I think my very favorite part is right down in the corner here with these. I mean, almost looks like a little fan, doesn't it? Like this little fan part. Love it, love it, love it. I'm so excited that we were able to put two blocks together to make one big block. This is exactly what it's all about. You just keep putting things together. You're making them separate, but it doesn't matter if they're the same size, because when you go to put them together, whichever one you need to be longer, you just add a piece to. And that's how we'll continue. When we add this big piece onto another big piece, it's very unlikely that they'll be exactly the same size, and we will almost certainly need to add a piece on, or even chop a little bit off, which is fine as well. So this is how you build it. This is the beginning, and we've kind of already, the beginning was the beginning. We're far past the beginning. Thanks for crumb quilting with me today. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.